And here we go, guys. In the bottom left, in the green color, from the team Empire. Currently living in the U.S., though, living at the Razor House, I believe. It is Empire.Beastyqt. And in the lower right, in the yellow, from the team FXO. It's a really good Zerg player. His name is LoWeLy.
That's right. And so a match of two pretty darn good players. Beastyqt, a very incredible Terran player. LoWeLy, a guy who we mentioned before, has performed quite well in this tournament as well, taking games from Complexity, as we said before, and really kind of their ace through the qualifiers as well. So I'll be interested to see what both these players bring out. Now, you just did build order breakdown on a lot of TVZ mech strategies.
Yeah.
This is Tal'Darim Alter, though, and I'm sure Beastyqt is going to be pretty happy with the spawn positions. It's going to be pretty quick access to his opponent's natural.
Oh yeah, well, it's going to be fun to kind of closely watch to see what they what our Terran player decides to do in this matchup. I mean, Terran players are kind of like freaking out a little bit right now. They're like, hey, we don't really have a very good way to hold Zerg back in the early game, so what do we do? And I think mech play is a great answer to that. I just talked about it for an hour, but I'll just kind of reiterate for people that are just joining us how my theory on it is I feel like we're going to see a lot more mech just because it kind of accepts that Terran needs to be a little bit more defensive now in the early game and just come in with a stronger mid to late game. That's exactly what we saw happen in Protoss versus Zerg. It's working fine for Protoss right now, so yeah, why not Terran?
Well, Doe, I have to remind you, though, there's a difference between we will see mech and I just want to see mech. So.
No, I know. I know, trust me. There's bias, but I have a feeling. Yes. I just have this gut feeling that we're going to see a lot more mech.
Well, I do hopefully like mech play as well, so I'm hoping for it, if nothing else.
All right.
But for now, though, Beastyqt is bypassing gas, going for that very familiar one-ranks gasless fast expand. We've seen players even go up to 3 command centers, try and saturate 2 bases as quickly as possible. Still possible on this map, because by the time you actually do saturate, you then do have enough forces to quickly take out the rocks and establish that third if you want.
You know, the thing is, too, is Beastyqt isn't exactly the type of player to go mech very often as well, so I doubt we're going to see that in this game. He really likes to be aggressive with things like Marines, you know, bio units, Hellions, you know, if he can, although that's really difficult to do now. And look at this, LoWeLy getting his gas right now, actually, not going for that 4 queen build that we see so often in TVZ right now. He's actually going to be going for a more normal 3 queen build, which is where you know, get an extra queen at your natural expansion for defense and creep spreading, but then you go into Zergling speed a lot faster. So curious to see if he's going to do that just to get his tech going a little bit quicker, or if he's planning some sort of early Zergling run-in like we see a lot of Zerg players doing right now.
Some of the 4 and 6 queen builds that Zerg players are doing in TVZ right now are just gross. I mean, by the 14 or 15 minute mark, you tend to have creep spread that covers like 75% of the map, and it's just amazing the amount of control that they can actually exert over the game at that point. Now, Beastyqt has scouted his opponent last, so he doesn't know what he's up to, and unfortunately may not have the opportunity to get in there and see the exact amount of queens or anything along those lines. Back on his side of things, though, he's mining off of double gas, presumably to save up for that factory as soon as possible, and there's 150. 100 and a factory.
Yep, built right next to that barrack, so maybe we will see a little reactor action going on that as well. And there it is. There's the reactor starting, so not too bad. Oh, look at that. That's a very early roach horn, actually, for LoWeLy, and the SCV does not scout it. So LoWeLy looking like he may want to get in there and do some damage early on and possibly even end the game early. It's a little bit of a risk taken by our Zerg player, but it could certainly do some damage.
That's right, and we'll see how many larvae he saves up now. Already sitting on 3, but he does have injects hitting one of these hatcheries. In fact, his second queen just coming to inject the lower hatchery here, so he'll be a bit behind in larvae for a push if he decides to just turn all of these into roaches in a second. And indeed he is. Yep,
that's right. 5 roaches really, really early on. This is the I suppose you could say infamous 6 or 7 roach rush. I think we're going to see him add on 1 more here in just a moment, probably. Because, yep, there's oh, never mind, 2 more. He's going up to 9 roaches. So, yeah, this is pretty hardcore. 10 roaches on the field right now. 10 roaches for FXO.LoWeLy. Yeah, and he's going to try to use the next inject that pops to get a little bit more Zerglings here. A few more Zerglings. Try to catch us up to the roaches as they move across the map. But I don't know, man. I mean, this is always such a risk by Zerg. You need to do a lot of damage to make all these resources that you're spending on these roaches worth it.
That's right. Now, BastyQt doesn't have a whole lot out, but he gets a really nice early scout on the roaches moving across the map, taking control of the Xel'Naga Tower. So we'll see if he's able. Oh, look at that, already switching into his Marauder production.
Yep.
He will need absolutely as many of those as he possibly can. He'll also need to be able to keep this bunker alive as long as possible. Looks like Marauder #1 just about to pop up. 2 more barracks coming out as well.
Yep.
Marauder's going to get into the bunker in time. LoWeLy trying to make his way up with the roaches, going to dispatch this bunker
he
pretty
needs
quickly.
to repair.
No, he is repairing it up right now.
Nice.
And it looks like it's going to survive, at least for the time being. One of the roaches have already fallen. A second going to go down here as well. Even a third before the roaches are able to make their way inside of the main. So a lot of those have been dealt with pretty well, but he is still going to do some economic damage.
Yep, nice SCV surround on those roaches. Workers actually do okay against roaches, and roaches have a rather slow fire rate, so they don't usually kill as many workers in that situation. Still a bit of a problem for Beastie, but when it's all said and done, I think maybe he'll have lost about 7 or 8 workers or so. Yeah, 7 workers right now. Pretty normal, and 8th does go down, and BastyQt does clean that up. So taking a little bit of a hit economic-wise, but things could have been a lot worse. He didn't really come out of that too bad.
Yeah, I think things were great for him right there. I mean, his opponent is very far behind in tech. BastyQt has been able to go ahead with his infrastructure this entire time and his upgrades relatively uninterrupted. He may be just a touchdown in supply at the moment, but now LoWeLy is committed to 2 base for quite a while. If he decides to try and take a third, he's immediately going to be hit by a huge attack out of Beastie.
Yep. And that is exactly what Beastie needs to kind of get some serious momentum in this game. The creep spread, I've got to say, pretty good for LoWeLy. Starting to move out on the map, although I wish he would have connected his main and natural. It always hurts me to see that.
I know.
That main and natural not connected. Now. There we go. Okay, so he is working on it, but it just hurts. Just hurts me deep inside. So it looks like it will be that stim bio push with some Hellions kind of thrown in there as well. He can choose to add on Medivacs, and if he does, he's going to be a little bit later than he would normally be. He can kind of move out the units and then move the Medivacs towards him. Goes ahead and starts combat shields right now as well. He may decide to go ahead and wait until those. Doesn't need to push necessarily right now. He knows his opponent isn't going to really be able to take a third because of those rocks anytime soon. So he's got some leeway, but certainly looking a bit aggressive at the moment.
That's right. So he's going to roll his way up here in just a bit. What's the worker count now? 53 workers to 36 at the moment, but the power of mules right there. As
Behold the power of mules.
Yes, it's basically caught up on in minerals altogether. Now, LoWeLy this is actually pretty familiar out of him. We saw him doing this during the qualifiers. Incredible control of the map. His creep spread is good right now, but if you see the amount of vision he has at this early stage in the game, it's actually quite spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, he's got overlords in basically all the positions that he would want them in to catch things like drops and all that. All he really needs to do from time to time is to send a Zergling around to each base to look for hidden expansions, and he's golden as far as scouting goes. BastyQt continuing to kind of gather that army up on that little ledge high ground. Looks like we're going to see, the scan and picking off a couple creep tumors here.
Yeah. Gets an active one as well, which is a nice little benefit for him. This one will have to circle back if he wants to go ahead and go that way. There are a few Zerglings out on the field now. The Infestors are the big addition, of course, though, sitting there with their fungal growths ready to go. This is a pretty good group of forces for BastyQt. We just got to make sure he doesn't get his forces fungal as he drops, but if he's able to get in there, it would be devastating for LoWeLy.
Yep, and this is an interesting engagement here. Could go well for either player. Nice fungal trapping some of those units here. There are some on the high ground. A lot of Lings coming in with roaches. Will it be enough, though? Ooh, doesn't look like it. Some more Lings coming in from kind of an awkward angle, but so far BastyQt able to handle this with ease.
Yes, he is. And actually, this is Marauder being repaired up, though, and it looks like it's just barely going to hold on. No, goes down, but the Queen is going to fall in response. And right now, I just don't know what LoWeLy can do. This pressure is proving to be so effective. Workers killed have been caught up now for BastyQt.
Yeah, he's about 30 supply down to a Terran player at the 12-minute mark. That is not a situation that you ever want to be in as Zerg. He also did lose a couple of those very expensive Infestors in that engagement as well. He's getting +1/+1, but look at everything that BC is doing. You know, he did a little bit of damage in the natural. He's setting him back to kind of square one with creep spread as well. So everything BastyQt is doing is really kind of serving to push his opponent farther back and himself a little bit farther ahead. And he's certainly looking a bit far ahead right now.
That's right. So moving over to the familiar Marine tank medevac composition. Sitting just on 0-1 upgrades with 1-1 just about to finish. Armory has started a bit late, and I don't see a second engineering bay quite yet. So only going to be researching one upgrade at a time for the time being. But that is a pretty devastating push. And while his opponent may have infestors out there, no banelings to be had. So even if the units are locked down, unless he's able to chain fungal and actually kill the units, he's not going to have the banelings to be able to kill them outright.
Yeah, the nice thing, too, that BC's been doing as well is that he's been making his opponent make lots of units when he wanted to make drones. Here comes a little push from BastyQt. He's got a decent army out here. Looks like he might get that queen as well. LoWeLy running some Zerglings around the top of the map. Looks like he wants to come back and catch some reinforcements here.
That's right. We'll see if he cycles around in a second. He doesn't have vision of the high ground quite yet. That siege tank. Actually not sieged up and not able to take those out quite yet. BastyQt loses one tank there on the low ground, but he does have a fair number of Marines still sitting up on the high ground. The supply difference continues to kind of increase. Not a fungal left on those infestors, and the economy loss now is starting to really get up there.
Oh, yeah. He's lost about 26, 27 workers right now. Lings do manage to surround some of those Marines and take them out. But taking shots from that siege tank the entire time. Still about 30 supply ahead is Empire.Beastyqt.
That's right. So it looks like these Lings are going to try and cycle around. They will be able to pick off that siege tank. Oh, but he headbutts a couple of infestors into the units. Loses two of them. So just lost most of the gain from killing that siege tank.
Yeah, now BastyQt is in a prime position to take this game. All he needs to do is just continue to push very, very safely here. You can see LoWeLy's starting to get a little bit frantic, a little bit panicky, sending those Marines out to maybe try to kill off some army units. Saw that the force was a little bit too much for him to handle and decided to pull back. He is focusing mostly on carapace, help his units last longer. That does make sense because he does have a little bit less to work with than he normally would want to. But BastyQt right now, he doesn't really need to continue this push. All he needs to do is be there and be threatening and keep LoWeLy from taking that third base. If he can starve his opponent off on 2 bases, he should be able to give Empire that pretty quick game 1 win.
And it looks like Orbital Command was landed over at the top left-hand position. So, a drop getting picked up on pretty quickly by LoWeLy. Very nice reaction time to that. But interesting, BastyQt not taking any of his forces and trying to go through the bottom left-hand base.
Yep, that's right. Medevac coming in again, dropping some Marauders by the Spine Crawler. And the Lings do come in from behind and clean up that tank, no problem. So it looks like that drop won't do about as much. You know, I got to say, BastyQt, not really necessarily sneaking infestor there through the army, but BastyQt could maybe be engaging this a little bit better, I'd like to say. He's putting a little bit of pressure on, but it's getting to the point where LoWeLy's going to be like, all right, I've got enough to just kind of crush this, and then he will.
Oh.
And that is really unfortunate for that infestor.
Yeah, no kidding. Not even a chance. So
here's a question for you.
Okay.
Why does something that spins around in the air and points up see burrowed units underground?
That's actually a very good question. Doesn't make any sense at all.
I always kind of wondered that. I mean, maybe they just have like some sonar built into the base where it like detects vibrations in the ground or something too, but kind of wonder because it's distinctly not looking at the ground.
No, not in any way, shape, or form.
In the ground. A little bit of drop doing some damage there, killing off a couple queens.
Guess that's the only good part of Terran engineering, though, is his Lings look like they may be able to surround a siege tank here. They will get that.
Yeah.
Everything else just falls apart, but at least the missile turrets do something right.
I think it's much more embarrassing for Protoss, being that they've made this immortal unit that's vastly powerful and kind of returned from the dead zealot, but it can't shoot up. It can't like bend its arms far enough, so Protoss have to be the embarrassed ones in that category. A lot of units, or a lot of infestors rather, out for LoWeLy.
That's right.
There's a ton of gas being used on that as well, and I feel like, you know, infestors are great, but you can't win with just infestors and a little smattering of Zerglings. LoWeLy is just kind of slowly falling apart here.
Yeah, that's right. 45 workers killed, we just saw. 35 workers to 67. Now 3 bases up for BastyQt. And he has almost double the supply of his opponent.
That fungal doing some damage there, causing some Marines to disintegrate quite hideously, I guess you could say. But yeah, look at that supply, man. I mean, double the supply of his opponent. BastyQt could be more aggressive than he is right now. He's just kind of playing things a little bit safe. Looks like we've got a bit of an engagement by that base right now. Zerglings trying to take out some bioforces, but with the medevacs, it's just not going to work.
That's right. More drones going to fall here as well. Now up to 52 workers killed. And that number will increase here momentarily. LoWeLy, though, good on him for trying to make sure that it's not out or it's not done until it's officially done. And he's going to try everything he can to make his way back into this game. We know that that's going to be incredibly difficult for him, but still, kudos to him for not giving up too early.
Yeah, well, one of the strategies you do see players employ once in a while in team leagues is to take a game like this where it's not really winnable by LoWeLy, but he does have the ability to stretch it out a long time, and they'll do that. They'll do that just to kind of tire out their opponent, you know? Obviously, LoWeLy, I don't know if, you know, he still wants to win right now, but he knows he's in a position where it's going to be very, very difficult. So what he can do is use all those infestors to really slow things down for Beastie, make it take a long time for him to kill him, and then ideally buy that slow Beastie out a little bit or tire him out for his next opponent.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. So Beastyqt pretty much has this one in the bag, barring a miracle now from LoWeLy, but he is going to continue to stick it out at least for a little time, and you're probably exactly right in that regard. So
there's a fusion core on the way for Beastyqt, so you know he kind of knows too. He's like, all right, I'm just going to make some battle cruisers. Why not? It's just kind of fun. He's got 2 starports on the way as well, and I mean it's not a bad idea either. It is going to be a way where he can just kind of get in and get damage done that he needs to, you know, regardless of the units that LoWeLy has. Because, I mean, even if you fungal a battle cruiser, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. You can neural parasite it, but again, not a huge concern, really. Beastyqt finally taking down that natural expansion, and this may be the push to end it all.
That's right. Behemoth reactors on the way, though, and I want to see the battle cruisers, but I don't think we're going to be able to.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to. I'm sorry. Maybe next game.
Makes me sad.
If we had Kawhi Rice playing a TVT, we'd get to see him for sure.
That's probably true.
That'd be good.
Kawhi Rice versus Avilo. Who can make the more nukes and siege tank lines? And
well, he makes a lot of battle cruisers in TVT.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty common.
Well, we'll see here now as Beastyqt is just going to continue rolling through. No economy, unfortunately, over at LoWeLy's main. So just kind of hanging around, as we mentioned before, losing the last couple of units there. Beastyqt is making 2 battle cruisers, so we have a countdown timer of 75 seconds. If this game doesn't end in 75 seconds, I will see battle cruisers.
Yes, you will. Even if they will just kind of pop out and sit above the starport.
Yeah, probably.
Those infestors like, we wish we weren't here. Wish we could burrow and go to maybe Lost Temple or something.
Yeah.
And burrow or go somewhere else with this tile set.
And unfortunately for them, though, they're just all going to die here momentarily. Yep. Another drop making its way in, cleaning up the last couple of structures for LoWeLy. Is down to 57 supply. T-minus 30 seconds until we see battle cruisers.
Can LoWeLy stay in the game that long? I don't know, man. He's got a lot of infestors. Remember, he can just delay this indefinitely, just fungal things for fun.
That's right.
He puts the fun in fungal.
Oh, God.
I know. Oh, I do like the infested Terrans. Causing
GG.
the tanks to shoot each other. That's it. GG.
And Empire does take game number 1.
No battle cruisers for you. I'm sorry. Not this time.